The Philippines is located in Southeast Asia, right in the path of tropical storm, receiving heavy rainfalls almost every year. How can a country surrounded by water struggle to provide enough clean drinking water for millions of its people? Well, the answer is far more complicated than what you think. Today, we're diving into one of the most biggest challenges facing the Philippines. Not just today, but for the decades to come. We'll explore why water shortage happened, why water please continue to increase, the myth and facts behind the crisis, and why a controversial project known as Pax Silica has become part of the national conversation. This is It's Next Now, and if you're curious about the Philippines beyond the beaches and tourist destination, make sure to subscribe because this channel explores the country's politics, economy, society, and the issues shaping its future. Now, let's begin. Rich in water, yet constantly running short. As you know, the Philippines is an archipelago of 7,600 islands with a population of more than 150 million people. And every year, the country experiences a rainy season that brings powerful monsoon and tropical cyclone. In fact, the Philippines is one of the most disaster-prone countries in the world, experiencing around 20 tropical cyclones annually. From an outsider's perspective, it may seem impossible for a nation to receive so much water rainfall to receive water shortage. But here's something many people don't realize. Rainfall doesn't automatically become a drinking water. Water has to be collected, stored, treated, tested, transported, and distributed before it reaches home. And that is where the challenge begins. To understand today's situation, we need to go back several decades ago. After World War II, the Philippines experienced rapid population growth, especially in Metro Manila, the country's capital region. The cities expanded quickly, apartment buildings replaced farmlands, industrial zones multiplied, roads and subdivision stretched farther into what were once forests and agricultural lands. But while the city keep growing, water infrastructure doesn't always keep up. Even today, much of Metro Manila depends on Angat Dam, located north of the capital. Imagine one reservoir helping supply water to millions of Filipinos or millions of people every day. That systems work until the nature begins putting pressure on it. During the prolonged drought caused by the El Niño, water level falls. At the same time also, demands continue increasing because the population keeps growing. Suddenly, a system that once seemed sufficient begins showing signs of strain. The water crisis isn't just about the water itself. Many people assume the Philippines simply doesn't just have enough fresh water. Well, in the reality, that's only part of our story. The bigger issue is the management itself. Some treated water never reaches consumers because of the aging pipe leaks. Some of the rivers are too polluted to serve as reliable resources. Groundwater is pumped faster than nature can replenish it. Forests that once absorbed rainfall has been cleared for development or agriculture. When those natural watersheds disappear, rainwater flows rapidly into rivers and eventually into the sea instead of stored underground. Ironically, the Philippines can experience devastating floods during one season and water shortage only months later. That contradiction surprises many visitors, but it highlights one of the country's greatest environmental challenges. And here is one of the question. One of the most common question Filipino asks. If water comes from the nature itself, why does my water bill keep on increasing? Well, it's a fair question. The water itself is a natural resources. What consumer actually pay or what consumer actually pay for is the service. Water must be purified to remove harmful bacteria and contaminants. It must travel through pumping station and treatment facilities before reaching homes. Pipes need repairs because we have old pipes. Old infrastructure must be replaced. Engineers, technicians, and maintenance workers keep the system running every day, while electricity powers much of the entire process. As energy prices, construction costs, and labor expenses rise, operating a safe and reliable water system becomes more expensive for most of us Filipino. That doesn't mean every increase is automatically justified. Consumers still deserve a transparency and accountability from both regulators and water providers, even if it's private or public. Understanding those costs comes from an important part of our conversation. Climate change has added another layer of uncertainty. Scientists have observed the weather patterns in the Philippines are becoming more unpredictable. Most years, or some of the years, bring severe drought. Other years bring record-breaking floods. While floods may look like an abundance of water, most of that work cannot be stored, actually. Without adequate reservoir, healthy forests, and protected watershed. Instead, much of it flows directly into the rivers and eventually reaches the ocean. It is a reminder that having water and managing water are two different things. If you've been following Philippine social media, or the Facebook, Instagram, IG, X, and a lot of social media outlets here in the Philippines, you may have noticed increasing discussion about Pax Silica. Depending of who you ask, well, you'll hear completely different opinions. Some supporters believe new technologies, infrastructure projects, could help strengthen the country's long-term water security. Others worry about environmental impacts, transparency, public consultation, and whether enough independent scientific studies have been conducted. And at this stage, it's important not to treat every online claim as established facts. Major infrastructure projects should always be evaluated through scientific evidence, environmental impact assessment, independent expert review, and meaningful consultation with affected communities. The conversation about Pax Silica reflects a broader reality in the Philippines. People aren't only debating one project. They're actually asking a much bigger question. How should the country secure its water supply for future generations? Beyond the closed doors, let's separate the fact from the fiction. Some of the myth says the Philippines is running out of the water. Well, the fact is the country still receives abundant rainfall, but storing, protecting, and distributing clean water remains a major challenge. Another myth. Heavy rainfall automatically solves the problem. Well, the fact is, without a healthy watershed and storage facilities, much of that rain quickly flows back into the sea. Another myth. climate change is the only reason. Well, in fact, climate change increased pressure in water supplies, but aging infrastructure, rapid urbanization, pollution, and deforestation are also major contributors. Another myth: water interruption always mean reservoirs are empty. Well, the fact is, interruption can also result from maintenance work, damaged pipelines, equipment failures, or distribution issues. What can a Filipino and visitors can do? While the national policy and infrastructure projects plays the biggest role, individuals' action still matters. Conserving water at home, supporting watersheds protection, keeping rivers clean, reducing pollution, staying informed through credible scientific resources, and lastly, encouraging transparent discussion instead of relying solely on viral social media posts. The small action becomes meaningful when millions of Filipino or millions of people participate. Now, here's the closing thought. The Philippines water crisis is more than a story about reservoir or water bills. It reflects the complex relationship between the rapid development, environmental protection, climate change, public policy, and everyday life. For many of us Filipino, water is no longer something taken for granted. It's becoming one of the country's most important economic, environmental, and social challenges. Whether future solutions come through better infrastructure, stronger environmental protection, technological innovation, or improved governance, one thing is certain: the decision made today will shape how future generations experience life in the Philippines. So the next time you see breathtaking photos of the country's beaches, mountains, waterfalls, remember that beneath that natural beauty lies one of the Southeast Asia's most important conversations: how to ensure that every Filipino has reliable access to clean, safe water. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. And if you're watching from outside the Philippines, did anything today's discussion surprise you? And if you're a Filipino, what challenges do you think most needed to secure the country's water future? Let us know in the comment below. This is Nix Now. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!